Let's first talk about Shiba Inu, if we can. Also known as Shiba token, code SHIB. For context, Shiba Inu was created in August 2020, modeled off of Dogecoin by the anonymous founder known as Ryoshi. On May 10th this year, it had a market capitalization of over 13 billion. And maybe you can explain this, but in a crazy move, you were given half of SHIB's total supply. You burned, aka destroyed, 90% of it. That's worth $6.7 billion. And you donated 10%. That's worth $1.2 billion at the time to an India COVID-19 relief fund, saying you don't want to be the locus of this much power. This is fascinating. Why and how were you able to walk away from this much money and this much power?
So I should probably start by giving some of the backstory around these coins and this concept of giving me coins. So first of all, Shiba Inu, as you said, is this kind of knockoff of Dogecoin, right? And Dogecoin was this initial kind of fun coin that was created back, I think, around 2014 or so. And it was just created by Jackson Palmer and put it out as a joke for a couple of hours, and a community formed around it. And at the beginning, people didn't take it very seriously. I actually remember putting about $25,000 into Doge sometime around 2016. And I just remember just thinking to myself, okay, how am I going to explain to my mom that I just invested $25,000 into dog coins? And what even are dog coins? The only interesting thing about this coin is that there's, a logo of a dog somewhere. But, of course, that ended up being one of the best investments I've ever made. And it did really well. And then at the end of 2020, Elon Musk, of course, started talking about Dogecoin, and the market cap just shot up to about $50 billion. Actually, and it shot up multiple times, right? The first time it went up from about 0.8 cents to about 7 cents. And this just happened all in one day. And I remember this was when I was still in Singapore in the middle of COVID, and I saw that the price just went up by 1,000%, and I was like, oh my God, my Doge is worth a lot. And so I immediately called up some of my friends and told them to drop everything and scramble. And I sold half the Doge, and I got $4.3 million, donated the proceeds to give directly. And a few hours after I did this, the price dropped back down from about 7 cents to 4 cents, right? So I managed to sell the Doge at the top, and I remember just feeling like I was such an amazing trader. But then, of course, the price went up from 4 cents, then to 7, and then 50, and just Doge becoming this big phenomenon where there's even a lot of people that have heard of Doge that have not heard of Ethereum. It's just something even I wasn't predicting, right? And so after that, of course, we have Doge, and then people are thinking, well, if the leading dog token is worth $50 billion, then surely the second largest dog token deserves, at least 7 or 8 billion, right? I feel like that's kind of what the mindset of these Shiba people is. So then, of course, they did this other gimmick, right, where they gave me half the Shiba token supply. They were actually not the first projects to do this. So around the end of 2020, there was this weird project called Teller. It's Tellor. I think they're a Chainlink competitor or something like this. But I remember they just dumped $50,000 worth of their token into my wallet. And then they had their Twitter army just basically run around saying, look at Vitalik's wallet. Vitalik holds Tellers. He's one of us. He's a supporter. And as soon as I discovered this, I just publicly sold the Teller tokens on Uniswap, and this created a bit of a Twitter splat. Now, the Shiba people were more clever. The Shiba people, instead of dumping to that wallet, they dumped to my cold wallet, right? So in cryptocurrency, right, there's this concept of cold wallets and hot wallets. Basically, the thing that actually owns your money is this 80-digit number called a private key, right? And a hot wallet is when that private key is just stored in memory on your computer, on your phone, really easy to access. Cold wallet means it's either written down on a piece of paper, or it's on a computer that's just never accessed the internet, right? So cold is very inconvenient, but cold is also much more secure, right? Because even if that computer has some viruses on it, it's air gapped. It's not actually going to be able to upload it. So this cold wallet, and like all the money is out of the cold wallet, so it's safe for me to talk about my setup now, right? But it was a laptop that was sitting in Canada, and I also had 2 pieces of paper where I wrote down 2 numbers on those 2 pieces of paper. One was with me, one was in Canada, and if you add those 2 numbers together, you get the private key. So because of COVID travel restrictions, and this is this cold wallets in Canada, like it's very difficult for me to actually access it, right? And I'm not sure if they knew this. Maybe they just got lucky. But like basically, they sent a lot of these dog tokens into this wallet where it was very difficult for me to access it. But then I saw these dog tokens, I saw more and more people talking about them, and then at some point I realized that like, hey, these things are worth billions of dollars, and like, there's lots of really good things that you could do with that amount of money, and it would actually be a waste to just like see it go. So I made the decision that like I would actually power through and figure out how to like safely like basically get my private key. I actually had to call up my family, tell them to read out their number off of their piece of paper. I entered that into a fresh laptop that I bought from Target. Then I put in my other number on my piece of paper, added the 2 numbers together on the computer. There's the key. And I needed my family to actually like go and read the number on their piece of paper. And then I in my new multi-sig wallet, like there's other people that are signatories. But I'm obviously not going to reveal any details beyond that.
Now, a couple of weeks later, do you regret any aspect of that decision?
I'm sure there's some things that I probably could have done better. Like I was actually talking to some of these charities, and I was impressed by just how much money they managed to get out of selling some of these coins. So I probably could have done better by just like talking more with traders and actually ensuring that they can do a better job of maximizing the value of all of them. But like, it was a very stressful time, and I did have to act quickly. Like I did manage to make a lot of the donations before like a few days before the great crypto crash happened. So it was, and it's difficult to like. Obviously, there's parallel universes in which I did better, but at the same time, there's also lots of parallel universes where because I hesitated more and tried to spend more time thinking, I missed the opportunity. So, on net, it's like a luck of the draw, and I'm just, happy that everything was able to turn out as well as it did. There's 2 major paradigms for scaling blockchains, right? As you said, layer 1 and layer 2. And layer 1 basically means make the blockchain itself like capable of processing more transactions by having, some mechanism by which it can do that, despite the fact that there's a limit to the capacity of each participant in the blockchain. And then layer 2 says, well, we're going to keep the blockchain as is, but we're going to create clever protocols that sit on top of the blockchain that still use the blockchain and that still kind of inherit things like the security guarantees of a blockchain. But at the same time, a lot of things are done off-chain, and so you get more scalability that way.
So one way to achieve layer 1 scaling is to increase the block size.
Yes.
Hence the block size wars, quote unquote. And you actually tweeted something about people are saying that Vitalik changed his mind about he went from being a small block.
I went from being big to small.
Big to small. And but you said I've been a medium blocker all along. So maybe you can also comment on the very basic aspect before we even get to sharding of where you stand on this block size debate.
Sure. So the way that I think about the trade-off is I think about it as a trade-off between making it easy to write to the blockchain and making it easy to read the blockchain. Right. So when I say read, I just mean, have a node and actually verify it and make sure that it's correct and all of those things. And then by write, I mean send transactions. So I think for decentralization, it's important for both of these tasks to be accessible. And I think that they're like about equally important, right? If you have a chain that's too expensive to read, then everyone will just trust a few people to read for them. And then those people can change the rules without anyone else's permission. But if, on the other hand, it becomes really expensive to write, then everyone will move on to basically second layer systems that are incredibly centralized. And like that takes away from, decentralization and self-sovereignty as well. So this has been my viewpoint like pretty much the whole time, right? It's that like, you need this balance, and going in one direction or the other direction is very unhealthy. In the Bitcoin case, basically what happened was that Bitcoin originally, like at the very beginning, it didn't really have a block size. It just had an accidental block size of 32 or a block size limit of 32 megabytes, because that just happens to be the limit of the peer-to-peer messages. But then,
interesting. I didn't even know that part.
yeah, but then Satoshi back in 2010 was worried that even 32 megabyte blocks would be too hard to process, so he put the limit down to 1 megabyte. And I think by
put, you mean sneaked in there?
Yeah, just like made an update to the Bitcoin software that made blocks bigger than one. I think it's 1 million bytes invalid. And I think the impression that most people had at the time is that, this is just a temporary safety measure. And over time, as we become more confident in the software, that limit would be like raised somewhat. But back then, when the actual usage of the blockchain started going up, and then it started going up first to 100 kilobytes per block, then to 250 kilobytes per block, then to 500 kilobytes per block, there started kind of coming out of the woodworks this opinion that like, no, that limit should just not be increased. And then there are all of these attempts at compromising, right? First there was like a proposal for 20 megabyte blocks. Then there was the 248 proposal, which is a bit ironic because the 248 proposal started off being like a small block negotiating position. But then when the big block people came back and said like, hey, aren't we going to do this? They're like, oh, no, we don't want the block size increases anymore. So there were these two different positions, right? The small blockers, I think they valued 1 megabyte blocks for two reasons. One is that they just like really, really believe in the importance of being able to read the chain. But two is that a lot of them really believe in maintaining this norm of never hard forking, right? So the difference between a hard fork and a soft fork is basically that in a soft fork, blocks that were any block that's valid under the new rules was still valid under the old rules. So if you have a client that verifies according to the old rules, then you'll still be able to accept the chain that follows the new rules. Whereas with a hard fork, like you have to update your code in order to stay on the chain. And look, they have this belief that soft forks are kind of either less coercive than hard forks, which by the way I completely disagree with. I actually think soft forks are more coercive because like basically they force everyone who disagrees to sort of go along by default. Or they have this opinion that there's like, it's more difficult to abuse soft forks to do really mean things or that like completely violate people's expectations, like increasing the supply, which is like, I think there is some truth to that. So because of, these reasons, they just say, we're only going to do soft forks and we want to just not do any hard forks. And they eventually discovered this idea called segregated witness that allows for like a very tiny block size increase to like the equivalent of about 2 megabytes, with a soft fork. It's just a really like weird and devious trick. Like basically what they do is they take the signatures of transactions and then they put them outside of the block, and then they add an extra rule that says that like for a block to be valid, the block has to come with a separate like basically extension block that contains all of the transaction signatures. Right. So, when you measure it according to the old rules, like, hey, it adds up to less than 1 million, but actually there's this extension block that the old protocol doesn't even know about. So
it's a hack that seemed to work to in a small way extend the size of the block size.
But so, small block side was like happy with these very low levels of block size. And then the big block side wanted to expand to, at the very least go to 4 megabytes, then, maybe 8, 20. There's disagreements within there as well. I definitely was favoring the big side the whole way through, as you can probably tell. But
even though, so the argument against the big is that it makes things more centralized.
Yes, because fewer people can run a node that verifies the chain, and also because any of these things would require a hard fork, and hard forks are inherently risky.
Do you think there's truth to that?
I'm pro hard fork. I think hard forks are actually like in a political economic sense, they're better than soft forks.
Well, okay. I think that's a beautiful principle as stated. that soft forks may be more coercive than hard forks. This is not just about cryptocurrency. This is about politics and life. That's fascinating. So you're okay with hard forks. In fact, you think hard forks is the right way to make changes because then everybody's forced to make a decision.
Right.
Do you accept this change or not, as opposed to ideas being sneaked in behind the door and that decision is forced on you?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Dogecoin and Elon Musk. Elon said that, quote, ideally, Doge speeds up block time 10x, increases block size 10x, and drops fee 100x. Then it wins hands down, end quote. You said in a blog post, partially responding to that there are subtle technical reasons why this is not possible. To this, Elon said that you, quote, fear the Doge. So let's talk about this. What are the technical hurdles for Dogecoin that prevent it from becoming one of the primary cryptocurrencies of the world? And do you, in fact, fear the Doge?
I definitely feel obligated to correct the record. I definitely do not fear the Doge.
Okay.
I love the Doge. I actually visited the Doge in Japan a few years back. It's she's an amazing dog. She's still alive.
Wait, the original Doge?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, we accept Doge every year for our annual DEF CON conferences. So I definitely, don't think Ethereum is opposed to Dogecoins. I kind of want to feel like, Ethereum is at least a little bit in spirit itself a Dogecoin. And then, as I mentioned, I love Doge. I bought a bunch of Doge. I still hold a bunch of Doge. On the scalability question, like the challenge basically is like the limits to scalability and the trade-offs with centralization, right? Like if you just increase the parameters without doing anything else, then it just becomes more and more difficult for people to validate the chain, and it just becomes more likely that the chain becomes centralized and becomes vulnerable to all kinds of capture.
So does it need like some of the layer 2 technologies that we've been talking about?
I personally think that, if Doge wants to somehow bridge to Ethereum and then people can trade Doge thousands of times a second inside of Loopring, then, that would be amazing. If they want to just like take ZK rollup style technology and just have thousands of transactions a second on their own chain, then that's, that would be a great outcome as well.
So is there ways for Ethereum and Dogecoin to work together? So, okay, so there's a power behind a person like Elon Musk pushing the development of a cryptocurrency. Is there ways to leverage that power and that momentum to improve Ethereum, to improve some of the sort of cryptocurrencies that are already technologically advanced and pushing forward that kind of technology?
I definitely think there's room for...
that there's that meme of Doge like taking over, like that storm.
Yes, I've seen it.
Is there a way to ride that that storm, that wave of the Doge that's taking over?
I think if we could have a secure Doge to Ethereum bridge, then that would be amazing. And then when Ethereum gets its scalability, any scalability thing that works for Ethereum assets, you would be able to also like trade wrapped Doge with extremely low transaction fees and very high speed as well.
Is there precedence for building secure bridges between cryptocurrencies? How difficult is this kind of task?
It's definitely something that's in its infancy. There definitely have been some cross-chain interaction things that have been done before. The earliest is probably the concept of merge mining, right? When a chain just makes its entire proof of work algorithm dependent on the proof of work algorithm of another chain. And so I think famous Dogecoin actually merge mines to Litecoin, which is, I think in retrospect, not looking like a very good choice because now Dogecoin is bigger than Litecoin. If there's potentially some way for Dogecoin to merge mine with an Ethereum proof of stake of some kinds, then like that could be an interesting alternative. So that's one type of like chain interaction. As far as like bridges, like one chain reading another chain, early in Ethereum's history, there was this project called Btc Relay. It's a smart contract on Ethereum that just verifies Bitcoin blocks. I think people stopped really caring about and maintaining it because there just weren't enough applications that were actually interested in using it at the time, and then the transaction fees got too high to actually maintain it. So I think if we want to make a BTC Relay 2.0 and that becomes cheaper because, it uses snarks or something like that, then you probably could. And maybe now's the time when you actually can do that sort of one-way verification. But the one challenge, though, is that if you want to have a bridge that allows you to move assets between chains, then you don't just need one-way verification, you need two-way verification, right? And Ethereum can verify anything because Ethereum smart contracts can just run arbitrary code. But if you want Bitcoin to be able to do things based on what happens in Ethereum lands, then Bitcoin would have to basically, they can do everything with soft forks because that's their religion, but they'll do it that way. And if Doge wants to make a fork where that allows for two-way transferability with Ethereum, then they could. I mean, I think that would be a lovely collaboration to make if there's interest.
A lot of people write to me. One of two emails. One email is calling any coin outside of Bitcoin a scam. And then the other email is saying, my favorite coin is the best coin. It's going to save the world, whatever that coin is. And so I sit back and I look. I have no idea. I try to figure out the humans that I trust in this space, just basic human qualities. But do you think some coins are scams? Do you think some coins, maybe another way to ask it, are scammier than other coins? How are people that are looking outside of the space where there's all of these cryptocurrencies supposed to figure out what is a scam and not, or how to use the right kind of language when talking about them? Because there's the harshness of the language from the Bitcoin maximalist that doesn't just say everything's a scam, including Ethereum, but they use terms like shitcoin that says it's not only a scam, it's a waste of time. I mean, every word you can use, they say that. That's very harsh. And then some people are just apply the word scam much more conservatively and just refer to coins that legitimately are trying to scam people out of their money as scams. So what do we do with this word scam? Should it ever be applied to coins? And is it a binary thing, or is it a gray area?
I think it's definitely a gray area. There's definitely things that are really and actually scams. BitConnect would be one example of something that's way on the scam spectrum. Did you see their 2017 promotional video, by the way?
Of BitConnect?
Yeah.
Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. What's up, BitConnect?
Hey, hey, hey. What's up, BitConnect? It was this 3-minute, 48-second video that was just of this guy making this totally crazy rant, and it was at some conference in Vietnam where they were, of course, trying to convince a whole bunch of people to buy this coin, and they had these claims about how it would go up in value. Yeah. That was definitely the peak of these pure completely scammy coins, and that was definitely really terrible. And I feel like we have less, despite cryptocurrency as a whole being bigger, we actually have quite a bit less of that now. But then, of course, there's this spectrum of things that are not completely scams, and then things that are not scams and that are technically totally fine projects, but where their community is just incredibly sketchy, and then all the way to things that are where the community is nice, but maybe the project is just fundamentally incapable of achieving what it's trying to do, and the community doesn't realize, and then really good projects, right? So, in the case of Bitcoin, I would definitely not call Bitcoin a scam.
Right.
That's again. Right. I would also not call Litecoin a scam. There's people who call Litecoin a scam because they just say, oh, look, it has no fundamental use case, and the concept of being silver to Bitcoin's gold is just stupid, and milli Bitcoin is the silver to Bitcoin's gold. But at the same time, if you have these people who just, they do seem to earnestly believe this, and like they are trying to just like make Litecoin be Litecoin as best as they can. Then like that's, to me, that's enough for it to not be a scam.
Yeah.
And then, so yeah, I think the biggest gray area is definitely between like projects that are earnest but they have just all sorts of these like different combinations of flawed qualities to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.